Imagine a Roman dinner party 2,000 years ago. The torches are lit, the couches are draped in saffron-dyed wool, and the host is showing off his new silver platters. Then a slave walks in with the first course of the night. It is a small earthenware bowl, smelling of honey and pepper. Inside, sitting in a glossy syrup, are 6 tiny brown bodies, each about the size of your thumb. They are dormice, stuffed, roasted, and glazed. The Romans viewed status through the lens of scarcity. To be truly wealthy in the early Roman Empire, a host had to serve something that their neighbors physically could not obtain. This tiny appetizer functions as a historical receipt, a record of the specific resources and appetites required to maintain a seat at the top of the Roman hierarchy. The instructions for this dish sit in an ancient cookbook called De Re Coquinaria. It is associated with Marcus Gaetius Apicius, a 1st-century gourmet who reportedly spent a fortune on his kitchen before poisoning himself because he only had 10 million sesterces left. The surviving recipe for dormice is exactly 6 lines long. It tells the cook to stuff the animals and place them in an oven, but it provides no quantities, no timings, and no temperatures. Recreating those 6 lines today hits an immediate legal roadblock. The specific animal the Romans used, the edible dormouse, or glis, is a protected species across most of modern Europe. To cook this in a modern kitchen, I am using a small game bird as a respectful, legal stand-in for the dormouse itself. By executing this exact sequence of ancient ingredients, we can determine if this sequence of flavors resulted in something genuinely edible, or if the dish was simply a tool for social display. The edible dormouse is a small rodent that prepares for hibernation by packing on a thick layer of fat, nearly doubling its weight every autumn. The Romans built an entire farming industry to exploit this biology. They invented the glirarium, a specialized terracotta pot designed exclusively to farm and fatten these creatures. Kept in a cool cellar, the glirarium mimicked winter. Small holes provided ventilation, while a network of tiny ledges spiraled up the inside wall. Inside, the dormouse would crawl along these ledges, eat the chestnuts dropped in from the top, sleep, and rapidly gain weight. Excavations of Roman kitchen sites show that the elite were careful to sort their food waste. They separated the bones of farm-raised dormice from wild varieties, ensuring guests knew they were being served a specifically engineered luxury product. The glirarium transformed a common forest creature into a highly engineered asset, creating a consistency in weight and flavor that wild-caught animals could not match. To prepare the dish, the cook stuffed the animal with a mixture of pork and spices. This combination required ingredients drawn from the furthest edges of the Roman world. First came black pepper, an expensive luxury imported from southern India through trade routes that crossed the Red Sea and the Eastern Desert. Next was liquamen, a savory sauce made from fermented fish guts. To recreate this today, Vietnamese or Thai fish sauce provides the closest chemical and flavor profile. Then came the recipe's most difficult ingredient, laser, the resin of a giant fennel plant. This plant, called silphium, grew only on a small strip of the North African coast. Roman demand for silphium was so high that by the 1st century AD, it was reportedly found in the wild only once, and that single stalk was sent to the Emperor Nero as a curiosity. They had eaten the plant into total extinction. This single bowl of stuffing acts as a map of Roman ecological reach, an appetizer that relied on driving a foreign species into extinction while commanding trade routes across the known world. Once stuffed, the animal was sewn closed with linen thread and laid on a flat clay roof tile, acting as a hot plate inside a wood-fired hearth. This level of extravagance eventually drew the attention of the Emperor Claudius, who preferred the simpler, older Republican virtues. Claudius passed sumptuary laws to restrict the dormouse trade, attempting to legally curb the rising costs and competitive decadence of these dinner parties. The ban was largely ignored. The Roman elite continued to serve the dish, treating it as a status symbol that signaled their ability to bypass imperial restrictions. By the time the poet Martial was writing a few decades later, the dormouse was back on the menu, a quiet sign that elite appetites carried more weight than the emperor's legal decrees. The final step of the preparation comes from Petronius's literature, glazing the meat in honey and rolling it in poppy seeds just before serving. Tasting this today is a sensory collision. The sharp, oniony hit of the silphium substitute hits first, followed by the rich pork fat and the sweetness of the crystallized honey. Eventually, the trade routes collapsed and the villas crumbled. The gliraria broke into shards and the dormouse returned to its natural life in the forest. This single meal contains the entire Roman world: the Indian pepper trade, the extinct plants of Africa, the specialized clay jars, and an emperor's failed laws. Reading a textbook provides facts, but physically eating a recipe made the same way as it was 2,000 years ago offers a specific sensory understanding of the ancient world that no written history can provide.